Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pre-Conciliar Radio. This is your host, TLM Ryan, with a quick update about the future of the show. To cut to the chase, we're not going to do a comment. We're not going to do a comment winner because I've got to get this video out and then get to it. You'll understand here shortly. Need to provide a quick update on the show. The show is going to pause for roughly 3 to 4 weeks. Because unexpectedly, or I suppose expectedly, but not this quickly, unexpectedly, I am moving. I'm moving homes, and I have we closed on our home last night. We have 14 days to move. Very odd situation. I'll explain a bit of it because it does pertain, I believe, to the spiritual life of my family. I was planning on doing a lot more videos, throughout Holy Week and after Easter, but I have 14 days to pack up all of this and get out. So these books will probably be in boxes within a couple of hours, and I wanted to give you guys a quick update, a bit about the background of this move and things like that, and some of the videos I plan to release after I get settled into my new home. And I also believe I have a couple that I've pre-recorded, so I'll maybe put a few out in the interim. Okay, so anyways, why am I moving? So long and short of it is that the commute to my daughter's school has been pretty brutal on my wife, and she's been wanting to move for quite some time. I don't think she's voiced it because we didn't necessarily have the means to move to an area where the commute would make the reduction in the commute would make any sense. If you follow me on Twitter, I did announce about a few months ago that I was promoted to partner in my firm. So then we had the means to do that. But the market's kind of nuts right now. And anyways, we weren't really sure if we were going to find a house. Long and short of it, we found a house that we shouldn't have found. I'll just keep it that way, to put it that way. Would never have been available under normal circumstances. It reduces our total commute time from about 1.3, 1.4 hours each day to just 10 minutes total. But of course, as you know about the market, finding the home is the easy part. Selling yours is difficult. The market right now, I'll do a little stats because I know some people like stats on this channel, viewers of this channel. So in the 2007 financial crisis, the gap between sellers and buyers, so how many sellers are in the market versus buyers, was quite large, historically large. So there were way more people trying to sell their homes and nobody buying. Now, the reasons for that, I don't know all the reasons, but a lot of it had to do with subprime mortgages and risky loans. So it was a lot more on the financing side versus what we're seeing now, which is just the fact that because interest rates have almost doubled since the pandemic, everybody's sitting on these low interest rates. And so if you don't have to move or really want to move, you're not going to, because you're paying a very high premium on your next mortgage due to, you would jump out of like a 3 or 4% into a higher percent. So it's just a very strange market where it's almost like things have frozen. Just nobody's moving. It's not because there's problems, at least this is what I'm told. It's not because there's problems on the lending side and a bunch of risky bets going on. It's just because physical human beings don't want to enter into that market. So like an analogy would just be like, okay, all of a sudden humans have developed a need not to eat anymore, so they don't go to the grocery store. Okay, so the grocery stores are still there to sell you food, but now all of a sudden humans can, I don't know, get by with like photosynthesis. So, okay, the food's just sitting there. It's still available for purchase, but it's just sitting there. Same with these homes. So the gap between sellers and buyers is higher than it was in 2007, which is pretty insane to think about. So of course, we find the home that, my wife really likes the home. It's good for the commute. But I'm like, wow, that's the easy part. Now we've got to sell. We sold our home. We listed it yesterday. A person wanted to view it at 8 a.m., which is kind of an insane showing time. We got out. I took the kids to early mass. He made a cash offer. And we listed it. Our real estate agent said, okay, for the first week, list it a little high, see if you get any bites. But really, like, he set our expectations. He said, I think this is going to sell for like 40,000 less, so we can drop the price after the first week. No, we sold it in record time, faster than we sold our first home. Our first home sold in 2022 when, like all those Californians were coming everywhere and offering cash offers and you would sell your home in 12 hours. We sold it faster, which is kind of miraculous. And I think quite a few miraculous things occurred, and I'll explain why, that have made this possible. But in any event, what the buyer wanted he wants to move in fast. There's personal reasons for that I won't go into, on his side. And he gave us 14 days to pack. Like, we have 3 kids. Like, we live in a fairly sized, it's like a suburban home. Like, we have some stuff we've got to pack. So this is going to be a hard grind, which is why I literally at all my nights now are going to be just shoving things into boxes. I'm not going to have time even for 10 minutes to pop on here. So it's like 4:30 in the morning my time, recording now. And I wanted to just get this out so that everybody understood, I'm not dropping off the face of the earth. I'm coming back. I'll release some things. I have a lot of topics I want to talk about. Some on the personal side, some on the statistical side, some in terms of, relevant news. I'm sure the SSPX is going to start heating up soon. So let's see, what do we got? I want to talk about, when I come back, there's some encouraging news statistically on the conversion side. We're seeing a rise in converts, but there's a lot of fake graphs going around using AI. Going to delve into that, see like what's really going on. How optimistic should we be? What does it look like? Will it stop the bleeding? So I've got one planned like that. Joan of Arc series. Sorry, I postponed it last week. Going to have to postpone it a few more, but that's going to be a bit of a slow burn, anyways, because it's a long story. A lot of documents, primary sources to shift through with her. I have Anthony Stein has agreed to be a guest here on Pre-Conciliar Radio. He's obviously very busy, so he's agreed. We've set the topic. We're going to talk about the ape of the church. So hopefully I can get him on after I've completed my move and have my new office all set up. So, some cool things planned. We're just going to have to wait a little bit. And it'll be hard for me. It'll be hard for me to not pop on here and broadcast from a blank wall, but I don't think you guys want that with boxes. And quite honestly, I don't have time for it. I'll have to. This is going to be a tough deadline to meet. My first move, when I moved into this house from my other house, I had 1 child, and we like barely made it. And now I've got 3. I guess we'll see if we make it. Anyways, I'll share a little bit about this move and why it's encouraging for me personally, as well as my wife. If you're new to this channel, you don't know, I'm in a mixed marriage. My wife is nothing in particular. She was not raised religious. She has no religion. I've certainly been detecting many softenings, like significant softenings over the past few years. But she was the one who wanted to move because she does the commute, driving the kids to school primarily, and it's grating on her quite a bit. Also, the region that we live in currently, she doesn't feel has enough like-minded or similarly situated individuals. So, like, some of them are older people or younger people, kids, but nobody, in our phase of life. There's like one neighbor, but they're Protestants, so we don't talk to them. No, we just don't really like see eye to eye. And our kids don't exactly get along. They don't not get along, but it's just, one of those things. It's like you don't feel a connection there. So the friendship, it doesn't manifest. So my wife wants, to make friends with, moms who have kids in school, which is understandable. I didn't really want to move, obviously, because I'm not bearing as much of a brunt, of the burden. I did do the commute that she does a few times, and I'm like, okay, I understand this is tough. I honestly, I would have preferred to stay and just hope that Elon Musk's self-driving car would work, so I could ship them off on that, and they could, I don't know, read a book or do something on the commute. But that technology is not there, so I wasn't super thrilled with it, wanting to move. But I'm a pretty decent negotiator. I think I made a video on the SSPX. I think I called the SSPX strategy correctly. So in any event, I negotiated with her, and this was my deal. I said, sorry, it's early. I've got some congestion. I told my wife, okay, if we move, you need to start coming to mass with us. And I set a number. Okay. Because she's not under obligation, so I set a number. My number was 3 weeks, 3 times a month. Okay, 3 Sundays a month. Now I knew she would counter. Once we, this was what I threw out there. And she countered at 2. So then I recountered. I said, okay, 2, but you veil. So she agreed. So, which is fantastic. There's a couple reasons why I did that. One, obviously, it's just good to get her around the sacrament. There's more grace in a church. It's very good. I have 3 daughters. It's very good. It's better. I think I've gone over the stats on the show that it's statistically, if the husband or the man practices, there's a higher retention rate in the children, like much higher. It's like 75% compared to if just the woman practices, it's only like 25%. But it does tick up a bit, just a bit, if both parents practice. And I don't have stats on this, but my gut just tells me that it's very good for daughters to see a role model in their mother. So I think seeing, even if it's only half the Sundays, every other Sunday, it's right now, it's very good for them to see their mother, dressed modestly, in a veil, just like they do, they veil. I think that'll be very good for them. So while I didn't necessarily want to move, I shouldn't say I'm getting something out of this. I think God's getting something out of this, but that was my goal. I didn't want to move to like a dream neighborhood or spend, the money I got from my promotion on, I don't know, a car or anything like that. I feel provided for already. So it's like, what would we do? I mean, honestly, if I could have cut my wife a check to start coming to mass with us, I would have, but this is kind of an indirect way of doing it. So this is exciting. She then, my wife, just a few days ago, she went to a dinner with the parents of the children in my oldest daughter's class. She's in Catholic school, run by all the Dominican nuns, so very as conservative as you can get today. And my wife said, "Oh, it was great, we talked about things, and because she was sharing with them that we were looking to move, and a lot of them live in the same area, so she was kind of sharing that they were talking about that, and she told me, Ryan, like the only thing was like I was clearly the only non-Catholic there. They were because they went out to dinner on a Friday, and my wife had meat, none of them did, and she was sharing with me. She's like, oh yeah, this woman, she's on her fifth child, this woman, that, which was very encouraging to me. I'm like, it sounds like my wife is starting to get a social group of Catholics, which if I had told her, hey, there's a bunch of people at my church who would like love to hang out, that wouldn't sell, right? This is the kind of backdoor way of getting her more exposure. And I flat out told her, as a convert, I saw my mom revert. I can kind of see patterns in these things at this point. Like, and I was telling my best bud last night. It's not like a feeling, and it's not something that the human language has a word for. So the best way I can put it is a sense. You can start to sense things when you sense that there's clearly some providence going on. I'll give you an example. My mom also did a move recently, like a few years back, and it was the opposite for her. She wasn't moving to community. She was she was very isolated. She and my dad. She felt very isolated, and she'd also been attending mass with me a bit. Uh, like there was one example, like right before the day before we went to mass. She and I hadn't talked religion for a long time, but when I converted, she started talking religion to me a little bit, and she asked me, why do you think like there's so many Protestant denominations? And she said, I think it's because God just wants everybody, to come in. Like she gave some kind of ecumenical explanation for it. I mean, she wasn't practicing Catholic or anything. And fortunately, I think this is why it's so important to be, what I would call a pre-conciliar Catholic. I didn't give her the privileged path BS that you'll hear from the conciliar types. I just said, no, that's wrong. And then I explained why from a traditional Catholic standpoint. Well, and she listened, but you could tell like she was like 50-50 on my explanation. Well, then we go to Latin Mass the very next day, and the priest gives a homily on that exact topic. And he even talked about Catholics who had fallen away. And I forget his reasoning for it, but his conclusion, like his emotional punchline was, so you see, there's really no leaving the Catholic Church. And my mom very aptly picked up on the providential nature of that message based on her exact questions. I won't comment on whether that was providence or not. It's just you start to get senses of things. When things start lining up that otherwise wouldn't have lined up, like over and over and over again. I mean, one of the things I did record that I will release during this hiatus is my conversion story. And so when you've had a conversion like that, you do start to pick up on certain trends. You pick up on certain macro themes that occur. And I watch a ton of convert videos because I just love those stories. And you start to get that sense. You can detect it factually when somebody explains it to you, but when it's happening in your life, at least in my opinion, I'm getting to a point, and my one friend who's like way more spiritual and has been longer, he was Eastern Orthodox and then became Catholic. He can pick up on these things so quickly. It still takes me a little bit of time. But anyways, my mom called me And she's like, I just feel so isolated. I don't understand what's going on. Like, why is God letting this happen? This was like a year after um, that one sermon. And she'd been reading the catechism. She'd been, listening to Catholic podcasts. Like, it was one of those things where like she was doing as much as she could, but she wasn't ever going to revert without something else pushing her over the edge. And so she's like, I just, I'm so isolated here in this new city. I don't understand what's going on. I have no friends. And I was like, oh, this is a layup question, Mom. I said, it's so clear why you're being isolated. It's so that God can break through to you. And within 3 months of that conversation, she went and made her first confession for the first time in 30 years, 40 years probably, and came back into the church. So my point with that story is I've seen this. I know when external forces are acting. And I just get that sense with my wife, not trying to be, and I get very uncomfortable talking about that because I come from like a Protestant background where they were always like claiming they knew the future. That's not what I'm trying to say. I don't know the future. I'm just saying I think that there's good reason for this. And it also brings to mind when our Lord says to Peter, like, I will take you places you don't want to go. And I've seen that in much smaller, I'm not the Pope, in much smaller examples in my life where there's just certain things like, for example, Lent. I don't like fasting. It's not a place I like to go, but it's good for me. It's good for me. It's good for my soul. It's good for me spiritually. So I do it. That's why I'm not a Protestant. Because being a Protestant would be easy. It would probably be a place where my temporal and carnal instincts would want to go. Best of both worlds till Judgment Day. But I'm not. I'm Catholic. So, we have to do things. We have to be taken places we don't want to go. That was my mom. My mom was taken to a place she didn't want to go. But it's what she needed. I'm viewing this very similarly. My wife does not really like Mass. Yet. I think she will. So, the one-offs that I would kind of get her to go to, it's just a ton of effort. I couldn't get her to go. This is something I couldn't have dreamt of that now I get. Okay. 2 weeks, every other Sunday. So in any event, I'm going to have to pause the show because I've got to pack all of us up, and work's gotten way busier. Being a partner is a lot more work than an associate. So I'm not going to have the time in these next, I've got 14 days to get out. And then I got to unpack, set up Wi-Fi, it's going to be a lot. So in any event, I wanted to give you guys that update. Thank you all for subscribing, liking. I would say share this video, but it's not something really worth sharing. It's just something for anyone who is subscribing so that they know I haven't fallen off the face of the earth. I'm not dead. I'm not in some horrible depression. But that, that's the update. If I could ask this of you, if you could pray for my wife. Her name is Morgan. I definitely see some things happening here that may greatly impact the future of her life, her soul, and that of my children. So this move I'm excited about the move. I think from a spiritual standpoint, it's going to give us a huge boost, a huge shot in the arm. There's a ton of other things, but this isn't a podcast about my personal life. It's mostly a podcast about pre-conciliar statistics, pre-conciliar trends. So we will get back to that. But in the meantime, all I have for you is this update, which is a bit of personal news, and a pre-recorded conversion story that I shot a week ago. So you'll get a little personal anecdotes here, and then when I'm back and I'm set up, we'll get back. We'll get back into more of the things you guys like: statistics, live streams. I do want to apologize. I had scheduled today a debate with, let me pull this up. I want to personally apologize. I've already messaged him, but I'd like to personally apologize to Austin Bradley. Austin was kind enough and courageous enough to take me up on an open challenge to defend the fruits of Vatican II. He was obviously going to take the approach that Vatican II has borne good fruit. If you're familiar at all with me, you know that I would take the opposite. I debated on a Twitter space with a gentleman, and I don't think it went well for that gentleman. So I reissued another challenge, and I will continue to reissue challenges to anybody who's courageous enough. But in any event, this gentleman had the courage to do so. We had to reschedule once already. Sadly, we have to reschedule because tonight I will be taking all of these books and shoving them into boxes. And I don't have the time to do what would probably be an hour debate. So Austin, I do apologize. We'll get you on the books probably in May. I'd love to do it in April if I could, but it's probably going to have to be in May. So I do apologize, but we will be back for that. Okay, that's my update. Went a little long on it, but just wanted to give you guys all the context. Hope you guys have a great Holy Week and Easter. And until my next broadcast, Godspeed.